Morning, sport fans. We're back at it again. We're in a slightly different location than I was the other video. Saw quite a bit of bait action up this creek, and I thought I'd give it a shot. I'm close to where those otters were, but I haven't seen them. So maybe they haven't cleaned this area out. The depth finder was showing a lot of bait in the channel. So I put the worms out. I haven't gotten anything in the last 10 minutes. Things have started going crazy. I hadn't hardly caught a thing, and then all of a sudden I started catching brown bullheads. I caught so many of them and I was letting them go. Then I caught a little channel cat and filleted it. I wasn't catching any yellow perch. So I just put a piece of that bullhead on a rig and caught this one. He's free right now, but he doesn't know it. The hook had slipped out of him. I just picked him up. Boy, he's got everything slimed. Put that out there just to get it off the boat. I had all these rods with lines hanging around and everything was getting tangled up. Just needed to get everything back in the water again. And these bait rods are going off like crazy. I can cast over there. This is where I've been doing a lot of white perch action. I could cast over there and get a hit as soon as the worm hit the water. I had it on a bobber. As soon as I get this mess all straightened out, I'm going to go back to putting a bobber out there and see what happens. And once I get everything set up and there's a lull in the action, I'll cut up that white perch and get ready to do some dragging for the catfish. There's a big osprey up there. So we got a fish over here on this catfish rig. I'm going to get this in the water and then I'll go deal with him. He's just a little dink. He can't even pull the drag. Maybe I'll just let him chew on it for a while. I ain't going anywhere. Like I said the other day, I've got 60-pound test leader and a 8-aught circle hook. When that circle hook grabs hold of their jaw, they're not going to pull the hook. He's doing some swimming though. Keep an eye on those for me. Poor little guy can't even pull the drag. That is one ugly catfish. Channel cat. Little skinny, scrawny guy. So that's a dink blue cat and a channel cat, all out of that channel. We'll try one more time. I came in here, the depth finder was just lighting up in that channel. But I think the majority of what I'm seeing are those brown bullheads. I must have caught a half dozen of them. And the bad thing is they go and suck in that worm, and it's a, you know, half of a worm. And catfish has a mouth that big around. These brown bullheads are about this long. They're fun to catch on the ultralight spinning rod, but I don't like eating them, and I really don't like them for bait because they don't have enough oil on them. Funny, the white perch were hitting as soon as the worm hit the water, and I got those 3, and then they just shut right off. That one with the bobber on it, the bobber would hit the water, it would come up to the surface and then boom, right back down. And the fish that I was dealing with was so small it couldn't keep the bobber down, and I don't think he could get the worm all in his mouth. So as soon as I'd reel in, put a little tension on the line, he'd spit it out. But the one that I caught was just the one that, just the size I was looking for. This is the size white perch that I was catching. I mean, that's a nice eating size fish. I don't want to use that for bait, but I've got 2 of these. And I forgot to let this guy back in the water. He's going to be upset. Thank you, fish. This is the guy that came off the hook, and I had to pick him up off the water. It's crazy. He'll be fine. We'll give him a little CPR. Had to splash me on the way out. He slimed me, he blooded me. He bit me. This is that little guy. He'll make about 3 baits. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut his head right about here. That'll be the headpiece bait. And I'm going to chop him here. I'll cut this off so that the line doesn't get hooked up in there. And I'll also slit open his gut pouch there. And I might kick off some scales just to let this bait release some of that oil. and then I'll cut off his tail and use his back end here. And again, I'll scale him. We'll get to work on this. I don't think you can see it, so I won't go and scare all you people. When you're busy like this is when you normally get hit. I actually got 4 baits out of that. But I'd like to catch one more. I was reeling in just a little while ago, and when I got about 10 feet from the boat, all these little fingerlings just jumped out of the water. That's what these perch are feeding on. One more perch. But if it doesn't happen by 10:15, we're gonna go dragging with the baits that we have. What I wanted to show you, this is again my float rig. Keeps the bait up off the bottom, remember? But the way I put this on is a little bit different from what most people do. I have a uninterrupted piece of leader that goes all the way through all the eyes on this. This is a lure body, so normally there are treble hooks off of these 3 eyes to the rear. And what I do is I just take the line and I go through the nose eye, and then going left to right, I go through each one of those eyes. And then I take a piece of surgical tubing, that's what this is, and put that over the body, and I trap the line with it. And that does 2 things. It keeps obviously the lure on the line. What I'm worried about is if I were to tie direct to the front and then tie direct to the back with 2 separate lines, there's a chance that the knot could break, or one of these eyes could rip out of the body of the lure with a really big fish. I've never heard of that happening, but I've seen these lures, smaller lures, break, and the way they mold the eye into the lure body doesn't give me a lot of confidence. So I keep a continuous line going all the way through. And then the other thing that allows me to do, if I think that's too close, I can just pull it and get some more distance on it. What I like doing though is taking the nose with the eyes on it and going about 3 inches from the hook. Now when I'm dragging, it makes it look like a smaller fish is chewing on this bait, and that might spring a reaction from the catfish. That's just what's in my head. It may not work that way. But I catch fish. That is really amazing how they just shut down. There's another set of boards out there, and they cut a slot in the planer, and then they take a piece of flat aluminum, about 3/4 inch flat aluminum, 3/4 by 1/8 inch, maybe 8 inches long, and at towards the end they bend it 90 degrees, maybe 1.25 inches, and they put that through the slot, and then they go, and the slot would be right up here, and they put that flat piece of aluminum in there, and then put the screw and the nut in to secure it. So there's not a lot of resistance on the water, and then they drill a hole and mount this loop in there. What I think would be a better rig would be that flat piece of aluminum, but then have a means of attaching it where the only thing that this can do is just swing fore and aft at the same height as the hole. Because what happens a lot of times is they'll get twisted around and they won't want to straighten out, and your board won't plane properly. And that could get kicked up like that from a fish jerking on it and throwing it around, or just waves having it ride uneven and this get wrapped around where it won't want to swing properly. So I may modify these BCAT boards. Either that, or I'm going to wind up buying a set of those boards. This isn't working, so I think we're done white perch fishing. Got a section of F-18s. It's 2 F-18s in a parade formation, heading back to Oceana, nice and tight. I remember when I was in the Navy, I was a real old veteran of 25 years old, and I went over to Oceana, at the Oceana admin building, to get my ID card updated. And there were these young ensign and lieutenant JGs running around with wings over their pocket. I mean, those guys, 23, 24 years old, flying jets. What a life. I mean, you talk about something that looked like a kid. All clean shaven, crew cut, haircut. Good clean cut Americans. Water temperature is 72.6. Well, it was in the mid to upper 60s just last week. Some of that has to do with the water drop. The deal is that temperature is right there in the spawning area. And while not all the fish are doing their thing at the same time, it's going to be scattered around for a month and a half now. The fish that come off the nest are going to be pretty much starving, so they're going to want to feed heavy. Just picked up a dink here. Boy, the dink he is. Little blue cat. I think I need to tend to that center rod. I think it's picked up a little dink. Can't even pull the drag. See it doing this every now and then, and it's also tracking off to the side. I hope I didn't get into that other one. I haven't got it all the way out yet, so it's dragging kind of close. But I think I got some little micro dink on the center rod. be a good eater. Good form. He took my bait. Okay, we've trolled all the way up to this point, and the bait slick that I was hoping to troll down has all but disappeared. There's still a small line. It's nothing like it was. And I noticed that we've been picking up these fish right where there are these small patches of bait. You can see them on the depth finder, and you can also see the slick on the surface. There's a kind of a pod of them right here, and then this line that is going to this point is all but disappeared.